I never imagined I'd be sharing a story like this, but here I am. I'm Lena, 32F, and my world has been turned upside down. I recently discovered that my husband, Gerard, 34M, has been living a double life for years. We've been married for 7 years and have a 4-year-old son, Chris. Gerard and I met during our sophomore year of college. We were both part of the student government, working on a project to improve campus sustainability. Gerard was this charismatic, intelligent guy who seemed to have everything figured out. He was studying finance, and I was pursuing graphic design. We hit it off immediately, bonding over our shared love for indie music and obscure documentaries. Our relationship grew slowly but steadily. Gerard was always the perfect gentleman, planning thoughtful dates and remembering little details about things I liked. After dating for 3 years, including a year of long distance when Gerard got an internship in another state, we decided to get married. The wedding was small but beautiful, just close family and friends in a rustic barn venue that I'd always dreamed of. The first few years of our marriage were blissful. Gerard landed a job at a prestigious financial firm, and I started freelancing as a graphic designer. We bought a small house in the suburbs, adopted a rescue dog named Max, and started talking about having kids. When I got pregnant with Chris, Gerard was over the moon. He went to every doctor's appointment, painted the nursery himself, and even learned to knit so he could make a baby blanket. Chris's birth was difficult. I had complications that led to an emergency C-section, and Gerard was my rock through it all. He took 3 weeks off work to help me recover and bond with the baby. Those early days were exhausting but filled with so much love. I remember thinking how lucky I was to have such a devoted husband and father for my child. As Chris grew, our life settled into a comfortable routine. Gerard would leave for work early, often kissing a sleeping Chris goodbye. I'd work on my design projects during Chris's naps or in the evenings. Weekends were for family time, trips to the park, lazy brunches, and sometimes visits with our parents who lived a couple of hours away. About 2 years ago, things started to change. Gerard began working later and later, often not coming home until after Chris was in bed. He said his firm was going through a merger, and he was pulling extra hours to prove himself worthy of a promotion. I believed him because Gerard had always been ambitious. He'd talk about wanting to provide the best life for us, to save for Chris's college fund, to be able to take luxurious family vacations. At first, I was supportive. I'd keep dinner warm for him, listen to him vent about work stress, and try to manage Chris's disappointment when Daddy missed another bedtime story. But as weeks turned into months, I started feeling the strain. Gerard was always exhausted when he was home, barely engaging with Chris or me. Our conversations became superficial, mostly about household logistics or Chris's latest milestones. I tried talking to Gerard about it. I suggested he cut back on work, reminding him that we were doing fine financially and that Chris needed his dad around more. Gerard would apologize, promise to do better, maybe come home early for a few days, but then fall back into the same pattern. Last year, I noticed Gerard becoming secretive with his phone. He'd always keep it face down, take calls in another room, and I once caught him quickly closing out of screens when I walked into the room. When I asked about it, he said he was working on a confidential project and couldn't risk any information leaking. It sounded plausible given his field, but something in my gut didn't feel right. I hate to admit it, but I started snooping. I tried to peek at his phone when he was in the shower, but it was always locked. I even drove by his office one night when he said he was working late, and his car wasn't there. When I asked about it, he said he'd gone to a client dinner. Again, it was a reasonable explanation, but the doubts kept growing. Then, last week, everything fell apart. Gerard was in such a rush to leave for work that he forgot his laptop at home. I had a deadline for a big project, and my laptop was acting up. I decided to use Gerard's computer, thinking I'd just send my files quickly and be done. When I opened the laptop, I found dozens of folders with unfamiliar names. My heart was pounding as I clicked on one. Inside were photos of Gerard with another woman and 2 children I'd never seen before. They looked like a happy family on vacation, Gerard building sandcastles with the kids, the woman kissing Gerard's cheek as they watched the sunset. My hands shaking, I opened more folders. Years worth of photos, videos, and documents unfolded before my eyes. Birthday parties, Christmases, first days of school, a whole life I knew nothing about. I felt like I was going to be sick. As I dug deeper, I found financial records that showed Gerard had been living a complete double life for the past 5 years. He had another wife, Sarah, 30F, and 2 kids, Emma, 6F, and Lucas, 3M. They lived in a town just an hour away from us. The financial documents were eye-opening. Gerard had been lying about his income, telling me he made much less than he actually did. This explained why we could never afford the house upgrades I wanted or the family vacation we'd been planning for years. He'd been supporting 2 entire households. I sat there for hours, going through everything, trying to make sense of it all. How could the man I loved, the father of my child, betray us like this? How could he look me in the eye every day and lie? How could he miss Chris's first steps to attend his other daughter's dance recital? When Gerard came home that evening, I was waiting for him. Chris was at my mom's house. I'd called her in tears, asking if she could take him for the night without explaining why. Gerard walked in with a smile, leaning in to kiss me like it was any other day. I backed away and pointed to his open laptop on the coffee table. The color drained from Gerard's face. He started stammering, trying to come up with an explanation, but I cut him off. I told him I'd seen everything and demanded the truth. For the next few hours, Gerard confessed everything. He'd met Sarah at a work conference 5 years ago. What started as a fling turned serious when Sarah got pregnant. He claimed he was going to end things with her, but then she had Emma, and he couldn't bear the thought of abandoning his child. Gerard said he loved both of us, that he never meant for things to go this far. He talked about the stress of maintaining 2 lives, how he was constantly terrified of being caught. He begged me not to leave him, saying we could work things out, that he'd end things with Sarah. I felt like I was in a nightmare. The man in front of me was a stranger. Every memory I had was now tainted, every moment of happiness overshadowed by this massive lie. I told Gerard to get out. I couldn't stand to look at him anymore. Since then, I've been in a daze. I haven't told anyone except my mom, and even she doesn't know the full story. I just said Gerard and I had a big fight. I don't know how to explain this to my friends, my colleagues, or worst of all, to Chris. Gerard keeps calling and texting, alternating between apologies, justifications, and pleas for another chance. I've blocked his number, but he finds other ways to contact me. Part of me is so angry I never want to see him again, but another part is mourning the life I thought we had. I don't know what to do next. Should I contact Sarah and tell her the truth? How do I protect Chris from this mess? How do I move forward when my entire life feels like it's been a lie? Any advice would be appreciated because right now, I feel completely lost. Update 1, it's been a month since I discovered Gerard's double life, and saying it's been a whirlwind would be an understatement. I want to thank everyone who commented on my original post. Your support and advice have been a lifeline during this challenging time. After much deliberation, I decided to reach out to Sarah. It wasn't an easy decision, but I felt she deserved to know the truth, just as I did. I found her on social media and sent her a message explaining who I was and asking to meet in person. I was terrified she might not believe me or, worse, already know about me and be complicit in Gerard's deception. Sarah agreed to meet at a small cafe located halfway between our towns. The day of the meeting, I was a nervous wreck. I got there early and must have rearranged the sugar packets on the table a dozen times while waiting. When Sarah walked in, I recognized her immediately from the photos. She looked just as nervous as I felt. I'll never forget the look of confusion and fear in Sarah's eyes as I introduced myself. I showed her the evidence I'd found on Gerard's laptop, and she broke down crying right there in the cafe. It turned out Sarah had no idea about me and Chris. Gerard had told her he was divorced and that his ex-wife, me, didn't allow him to see his son, Chris, often. She was just as shocked and heartbroken as I was. We spent hours talking, sharing our stories, and piecing together Gerard's elaborate web of lies. Sarah and I realized how skillfully he had manipulated both of us, always having an excuse for his absences and playing on our sympathies. He'd tell me he was working late while telling Sarah he had to spend time with Chris. He'd go on business trips that were actually vacations with the other family. It was sickening to see how easily he'd lied to us both for years. After our meeting, Sarah and I decided to confront Gerard together. We arranged to meet him at a park, a neutral location where we could talk privately. When he arrived and saw both of us sitting there, the color drained from his face. It was almost comical how he looked back and forth between us, like a cartoon character realizing he's been caught. Gerard tried to charm his way out of the situation, attempting to play on our emotions and the love we'd once had for him. But seeing him there, trying to manipulate us even in that moment, only strengthened our resolve. Finally, faced with both of us and nowhere to run, Gerard admitted to everything. He said he loved both families and couldn't bear to choose, so he kept up the charade. He claimed the stress of maintaining 2 lives was killing him, but he didn't know how to end it. He talked about feeling trapped, about wanting to be there for all his children, about the guilt eating him alive. But his words rang hollow in the face of years of deception. Sarah and I both told Gerard we were filing for divorce. He begged us to reconsider, promising to make things right, swearing he'd get therapy and be better. But we stood firm. We made it clear that his relationship with the children would be decided through legal channels, but that neither of us would ever trust him again as a partner. The hardest part of all of this has been telling our children. Chris is only 4, So I simply explained that Daddy did something wrong and won't be living with us anymore. He's been having a hard time understanding why he can't see his dad whenever he wants. Sarah's kids are a bit older, so she had a more difficult conversation with them. Emma, being 6, asks a lot of questions that are heartbreaking to answer. Lucas, at 3, is too young to fully grasp what's happening, much like Chris. I've hired a lawyer and started the divorce process. It's been overwhelming dealing with all the paperwork and legal jargon, especially while trying to maintain some normalcy for Chris. I'm also looking into therapy options for both of us. Chris has been having nightmares and acting out at preschool, and I know I need help processing all of this too. My family has been incredibly supportive since I told them what happened. My mom, who already had Chris the night I confronted Gerard, has been a godsend. She comes over almost every day to help with Chris, cooking meals, and just being there for me. My dad, who's always been overprotective, is furious with Gerard and has been helping me navigate the legal aspects of everything. My closest friends have rallied around me too. At first, I was embarrassed to tell them, feeling somehow that I should have known or that I was stupid for being deceived. But they've been nothing but supportive, offering childcare, bringing over meals, and providing shoulders to cry on when it all gets too much. Surprisingly, Sarah and I have kept in touch, supporting each other through this difficult time. It's strange to find friendship in such an unlikely situation, but I'm grateful for her understanding and strength. We've even had our kids meet, supervised by our mothers. It was awkward at first, but the children seemed to bond over their shared confusion and hurt. As for Gerard, he's been staying with his parents. They reached out to me, shocked and horrified by what their son had done. Gerard's mother tearfully apologized to me, swearing they had no idea about his double life. Gerard keeps trying to contact both Sarah and me, alternating between apologies and attempts to justify his actions. We've both made it clear that we're only willing to communicate about the children and divorce proceedings. Financially, it's been a struggle. I've had to put some of my freelance work on hold to deal with everything, and the legal fees are adding up quickly. I'm looking into financial counseling to help me budget and plan for a future as a single mom. I'm taking things one day at a time, focusing on healing and creating a stable environment for Chris. Some days are better than others. There are moments when I feel strong and ready to take on the world as a single mom, and others where the weight of everything crushes me, and I can barely get out of bed. But I'm determined to build a better life for us, free from Gerard's lies and manipulation. The road ahead is long and uncertain, but for the first time in a month, I feel a glimmer of hope. I know it won't be easy, but I'm committed to creating a happy, healthy life for Chris and myself, whatever that may look like. Update 2. It's been 3 months since my last update, and the situation has evolved in ways I never expected. The divorce proceedings are well underway, but things have gotten more complicated than I ever imagined. Gerard isn't going down without a fight. He's contesting the divorce and pushing for joint custody of Chris. His lawyer argues that despite Gerard's deception in our marriage, he's always been a good father to Chris and deserves to maintain a significant relationship with him. They're trying to paint Gerard as a man who made a terrible mistake but who deeply loves all his children and wants to be present in their lives. I'm fighting for sole custody with supervised visitation for Gerard. My lawyer thinks we have a strong case given Gerard's history of deception and the potential emotional harm to Chris. But it's still incredibly stressful going through this legal battle. Every day seems to bring a new challenge or a new document to review. Sarah is facing similar challenges with her divorce and custody battle. We've been supporting each other through it all, sharing information and strategies. It's been helpful to have someone who truly understands what I'm going through. We've even attended a support group together for people dealing with infidelity. It's painful to revisit the hurt, but it's also healing to know we're not alone. About a month ago, I received a shocking call from a woman named Lisa, 28F. She introduced herself as Gerard's girlfriend and said she'd just found out about both Sarah and me. Apparently, Gerard had been seeing her for the past year, telling her he was divorced with shared custody of 3 kids. I was stunned. Even after being caught, even while going through 2 divorces, Gerard was still lying and manipulating women. When I regained my composure, I told Lisa the full truth. She was devastated. She'd been planning a future with Gerard, even talking about having kids of her own. Now her dreams were shattered just like ours had been. Lisa has since joined Sarah and me in our unlikely group of Gerard's exes. We've been helping her process everything and encouraging her to get tested for STDs, something Sarah and I had to do as well. It's surreal to think that just a few months ago, we were all living our separate lives, unaware of each other's existence. The revelation of a third woman has strengthened our case in the divorce proceedings. Gerard's lies seem to know no bounds, and the judge is taking this into serious consideration. However, Gerard's lawyer is arguing that his relationship with Lisa began after he was separated from both Sarah and me, trying to downplay its significance. On a personal level, I'm slowly healing. I've started seeing a therapist to work through my trust issues and the trauma of Gerard's betrayal. It's been helpful to have a professional to talk to, especially when dealing with Chris's questions and confusion. My therapist has been helping me find ways to explain things to Chris in an age-appropriate way and to reassure him that none of this is his fault. Chris has been struggling with the changes. He misses his dad and doesn't understand why he can't see him more often. He's been acting out at preschool, having tantrums at home, and regressing in some of his behaviors. It breaks my heart to see him go through this. I'm doing my best to provide a stable, loving environment for him, but I know he's hurting. I've had to make some tough decisions regarding my career. With the mounting legal fees and the need to be there for Chris, I've scaled back my graphic design work. I'm focusing on freelance projects I can do from home, which gives me more flexibility but less financial stability. It's scary to think about supporting Chris on my own, but I'm determined to make it work. My family has been amazing through all of this. My sister, Amy, 29F, has been staying with us for the past month, helping with Chris and providing emotional support. Having her around has been a blessing. She makes sure I eat regularly and gives me a chance to rest when things get overwhelming. My parents have also been incredibly supportive, both emotionally and financially as I navigate the expensive legal process. As for Gerard, he's been trying to manipulate the situation in his favor. He's reached out to mutual friends, spinning a story about how he made a mistake but is trying to make things right. Some have fallen for it, but most see through his lies now. It's been painful to see some friends take his side or try to remain neutral, but it's also shown me who my true friends are. Gerard's parents are torn. They're horrified by what he's done but still want to be part of Chris's life. I'm trying to navigate that relationship carefully, for Chris's sake. They've been respectful of my boundaries so far, which I appreciate. Despite all the challenges, I'm staying strong for Chris and myself. This experience has shown me how resilient I can be. Some days are harder than others, but I'm learning to take it one day at a time. I'm looking forward to the day when this is all behind us and we can start a new chapter in our lives. Update 3. It's been 6 months since my last update, and I'm cautiously optimistic that things are finally looking up. The divorce has been finalized, and I've been granted sole custody of Chris with Gerard having supervised visitation twice a month. The judge took into account Gerard's pattern of deception and the potential emotional harm to Chris. Gerard's relationship with Lisa, which he continued even after being caught, was a significant factor in the custody decision. The court recognized that Gerard's behavior showed a consistent pattern of dishonesty that could be detrimental to Chris's well-being. Sarah's divorce has also been finalized with a similar custody arrangement for her children. We've been supporting each other through the aftermath, sharing resources for single parenting and offering emotional support. Lisa, who thankfully didn't have children with Gerard, has moved on and is focusing on healing from the betrayal. Financially, things have been tough, but I'm managing. The court ordered Gerard to pay child support and alimony, which helps cover our basic expenses. I've also been able to expand my freelance graphic design business, working with some great clients who understand my need for flexibility. It's not always easy balancing work and single parenthood, but we're making it work. Chris is doing better, though we still have our challenging days. He's in therapy, which has helped him process his feelings about the situation. He still misses Gerard, but he's adjusting to our new normal. We have a routine now, and the stability seems to be good for him. His behavior at preschool has improved, and he's back to being the cheerful, curious boy I remember. I've maintained my friendship with Sarah. We've become each other's support system through this ordeal. Our kids have even had a few playdates, which has been healing for all of us. It's strange to think that something so painful brought new relationships into our lives, but I'm grateful for the support. As for Gerard, he's facing the consequences of his actions. He lost his job when his employers found out about his double life. Last I heard, he was living with his parents and trying to rebuild his life. He still tries to contact me outside of the approved channels, but I've remained firm in my boundaries. Our communications are strictly about Chris, and even those are limited. I'm focusing on healing and moving forward. The trust issues are still there, but I'm working through them in therapy. I'm not ready to date yet, but I'm open to the possibility in the future. For now, my priority is creating a happy, stable life for Chris and myself. This experience has taught me a lot about resilience, self-worth, and the importance of honesty in relationships. While I wouldn't wish this situation on anyone, I'm proud of how I've handled it and the example I'm setting for Chris. We're building a new life, and while it's different from what I imagined, it's ours. To anyone going through a similar situation, know that it does get better. It's a long, hard road, but you can come out stronger on the other side. Trust your instincts, surround yourself with supportive people, and don't be afraid to ask for help when you need it. Thank you all for your support throughout this journey. Your kind words and advice have been a lifeline during the darkest times. Here's to new beginnings and a brighter future for Chris and me.